Well, hello, welcome. Glad that you're here with us as we continue our chronological read through of the Bible. Well, book one or the book of First Samuel ends with Saul, with the death of Saul and all of his sons except Ishbosheth. Clearly, it would seem like now is the time. It's finally come for David to assume leadership of all of Israel as God had promised. And it's been a long time since David was anointed king. But you know what? That's not quite yet what God has in store. Today, we're going to read about David's reign over Judah in a divided kingdom, actually reminiscent of the divided kingdom that will come after the reign of Solomon. As we begin our reading today, a young man, an Amalekite, actually he calls himself a resident alien, comes to David's camp to report the death of Saul. He's going to report the death of Saul to David. He brings with him certain symbols of Saul's kingship, the crown from his head, a bracelet from his arm. The story he tells about Saul's death differs in numerous details from the account that we read a couple of days ago in 1 Samuel. The most important detail is that this Amalekite claims to have killed the wounded Saul at Saul's request. I guess today we would call that a mercy killing. Actually, as Saul had asked his armor bearer to do, but his armor bearer would not. It certainly seems that the man is trying to craft this story to curry the favor of David. David grieves both Saul and Jonathan, and actually David has the man executed, for by his own admission, he had lifted his hand against the Lord's anointed. He had killed the Lord's anointed. David would not lift his hand against Saul, God's anointed, even when he was given the chance, and he would stand for no one else doing so either. The young man basically ended up crafting a lie that resulted in his own execution rather than the reward that he had hoped for. He was executed for something that he hadn't actually even done because of his lie. David inquires of God now, is it time for me to go back to Judah? And God tells him to go and to go to Hebron. And there David is made king over the house of Judah. He's told about the men who had cared for Saul's body after it was gathered up by the Philistines. They went and got it, if you recall, and gave it a proper burial. And David praises them for their kindness. Abner, the commander of Saul's army, makes Saul's last remaining son, Ishbosheth, king over all of Israel, well, with the exception of Judah. Though he clearly Abner remains the power behind the throne. Civil war breaks out between Judah and the balance of Israel. The advantage of that war, well, it goes heavily to David and the tribe of Judah, though one of the few casualties of at least the initial battle that we're told about is one of the few casualties of Judah is a brother of Joab. Joab was the commander of David's forces. This brother is killed by Abner because he wouldn't stop pursuing Abner. Abner was the commander of Saul's forces. This actually becomes important a bit later, which is why I mentioned it. Abner asked for and Joab grants a temporary truce that day, but the conflict remains with David and his forces growing gradually stronger and Abner and the balance of Israel growing gradually weaker. Not only is David's influence and power expanding, but we see also at the end of the chapter that his family is expanding as well. He has 6 sons born to him during his time as king of Judah at Hebron, even as Saul's family has shrunk nearly to the point of extinction. Meanwhile, Abner is continuing to strengthen his hold on power in the rest of Israel, even as Ishbosheth remains the figurehead king. At one point, Ishbosheth accuses Abner of sleeping with one of Saul's concubines, an act that would be seen as an attempt to usurp even more authority from Ishbosheth. Well, we're never really told whether the accusation is in fact true or not, but it does result in Abner turning on Ishbosheth and seeking an alliance with David to unite the whole of Israel again. David insists if this uniting is to take place, that he first receives the wife of Michal back, whom Abner delivers, and a deal is struck. Well, Joab and the army had been out raiding while all of this was going on. Joab returns just as Abner leaves from making this deal with David, a deal that David fully intends to keep. But Joab is deeply suspicious of Abner. He doesn't trust Abner, and he creates a situation where Joab, is able to be alone with Abner momentarily, and he kills him. This won't be the last time that Joab acts contrary to the wishes of David, completely on his own, contrary to the wishes of David. Indeed, his proclivity for doing so will eventually cost him his life when David tells Solomon as he ascends the throne to have Joab killed for his past betrayals and the blood that is on his hands, Joab's hands. Well, hearing that Abner is dead, two of Saul's commanders, commanders of raiding parties, take it upon themselves to assassinate Ishbosheth and to bring his head to David at Hebron. Again, apparently thinking that they're going to gain David's favor. Well, David is furious, and he has them executed, just as he had the man executed who had claimed to kill Saul. Not because they raised their hand against the Lord's anointed. I mean, Ishbosheth had never been anointed by God. He was not the legitimate king of Israel. But he was simply set up that way by Abner. Rather, David has them executed for killing an innocent man, and he sees to the proper burial of Ishbosheth, or at least what he has of him. David has no interest in obtaining the kingdom of Israel by force, or even having it appear that he has obtained the kingdom of Israel by force. He's patient to wait for God to make good on his promise in his own time. I expect that most of us would do well to have a bit more of that patience and trust and confidence in the promises of God that David exhibits. Well, again, may God be with you and bless you. As always, I pray that your reading is beneficial to you, that you're learning and that you're growing. I look forward to joining with you again tomorrow.